Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar session by Kommunicate. Kommunicate is an AI-powered automation platform for customer support with its stack of in-house NLP and integration with large language models like OpenAI's ChatGPT-4. It enables businesses to provide instant and accurate resolution to customer queries. My name is Manav. I'm a product marketing manager at Kommunicate. Today, we have Sandilya and Akshay with us. They are both product leaders with decades of experience in product management, and they have experience of taking products from ideation to go to market using agile and lean methodologies. So I would let Sandilya and Akshay introduce themselves, but at first I want to set some context for today's session. We are all aware that generative AI has taken the center stage. We, especially product managers, are expected to know everything about Gen AI and how to use this technology in their workplace to bring out the maximum output. But with so much of noise, and at the pace at which Gen AI is evolving, it becomes almost impossible to keep a track of what is best for the business. So at today's session, we are going to discuss the risk and limitations of generative AI and how it will impact core metrics like retention, engagement, and churn. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Sandilya and Akshay. Sandilya and Akshay, thank you so much for taking the time out today to talk to us and share your experience on Gen AI and also as product leaders. Why don't you guys begin by introducing yourselves and tell us a bit about your job role?
Sure, I'll get started. Sandilya, if you don't mind. Cool. So I'm currently a principal product manager at InMobi. Started my journey as a tech entrepreneur at the age of 19. While studying in Singapore, I created an SMS marketing platform. Sold that, came back to India, bootstrapped a company. 3 people in a room, building version 1 of products for a lot of startups. We eventually grew to a size of 45, spread across India, building products for globally. So did a lot of 0 to 1 during that time. Found an interesting problem, picked a few people. We incorporated another company, raised capital. It was an integration platform as a service, contextually trying to drive commerce. Eventually, that was acquired by Walmart Labs. I then moved to the product space. Worked with Sandilya and ShopX, where we tried to take retail to tier 2, tier 3 India. Post that, went to Book My Show, was leading the platform team there. After that, I worked with InstaWork, an SF-based startup. It was a marketplace for gig workers. Fabulous company, learned a lot from them, set new benchmarks in my life. And now I'm at InMobi. If you have any other questions, happy to address them as we go along. So that's me in a nutshell. Also love dogs and travel.
Quite an impressive history that you have there, experiences. Like also you have been a founder. That's really interesting to see that. Sandilya, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see a lot of folks on a Friday evening. Firstly, I'm Sandilya. I have over a decade of experience primarily with products, right? I've spent time primarily in the edtech, telecom, and then retail space. And like Akshay had already mentioned, had layover where with ShopX, where we both got to work together, right? Been associated with some of the brands in their tech like Simply Learn, Hero Wired, and a few more, right? I actually have a slightly different journey than Akshay, if you say, right? I've had a chance to see both sides of the coin, which is 0 to 1 and 1 to 100 as well. And a couple of places that I've been associated with, they had a very interesting situation at hand where they were pivoting in terms of what they were doing and then scaled from there on, right? As of now, I'm contributing towards internet-based company and primarily responsible for new products at this place, right? Thank you.
Lovely, great. That's a great introduction. Okay, so the format of this webinar would be I would ask a few questions to you, and then you guys can choose what questions you want to answer. So I'll begin with Akshay. Akshay, do you think Gen AI or generative AI is here to stay, or is it something like NFTs or blockchain technology which have come ahead of the time, and we have seen companies coming in, building on Web3 or doing NFTs, but now they are going down because the market is not yet ready. Is it the same for Gen AI? Is it a buzz that's the simple question, is this a buzz or is it going to stay with us?
I think it's definitely going to stay with us. If you look at the investments done for Web3 and crypto, all of it, you didn't see large companies like Google, Meta, Facebook, Amazon invest a lot of money in that direction. But if you look at Gen AI, you see a lot of big companies making a push. You've seen adoption of users that, I'll give you a quick example. My dad writes poems for his family and friends using an open AI, right? So the adoption of users and the investment of companies are two very positive signs that it's happening. If you also look at where we are, the experiences that without Gen AI, we were getting slow customer service, poor retention in products, not understanding your users enough, to then building user experiences on top of that learning. To now, the capability available to everybody is to better understand the world, build better products, understand where we. So back in the day, you have to call customer support, then came an app. Now you can start talking to a Gen AI product. Eventually, if it can't handle it, it goes to an agent. Soon we'll be in a space where it would be completely, entire customer support will be led by AI. But we'll soon see a world where the number of problems that are going to customer support will also be solved by AI. So definitely promising future. Very, very excited about where it could possibly take us. That's my perspective. It's definitely here to stay.
Cool. Totally agree with you, especially the point where big companies flowing in. It is a proof that it is here to stay. Also, I think even though Meta was building their own system, maybe they were taking time. They thought we'll go smoother, do it with a very good precision. But now with OpenAI taking the market, they had to jump on the ship. Yeah, totally agree with that. Sandilya, I've got a question for you, which most of the product managers on the call want to listen. So what are the risks and limitations of deploying this new technology in businesses? Like, is it okay? What are the things that we should put a check on?
So we were briefly touching upon that, right? See, it's a very interesting question because if you look at the market and like Akshay touched upon, some of the larger companies have come in and that have led to a very important state of mind for a lot of companies, right? Where you, like in simpler words, if you have to say, it is FOMO, right? There's a lot of organizations who are jumping onto that bandwagon just because of the fear of missing out. And I think that is primarily one of the largest risk as well, right? With that said, I would like to kind of call out some of the most important risks. They are something that we definitely need to give in or understand before we take a call as product managers or product leaders in terms of implementing, right? If you have to categorize them, I would also say one of the most important thing is the bias and fairness, right? Today, Gen AI depends on the most amount of data that is fed into. So it relies upon the training data, and the training data biases is what it's learning from. So which leads to a lot of discriminatory or offensive outputs as well, right? So that is something that we should be wary of. And today, there are a couple more things. Like I think one of the questions that has come in. Sorry. Good. Some of the other question that has come in also is primarily about, what is the kind of control, right? Today, if you look at the risks, we lack control of Gen AI, right? We do not know what kind of content generation, because that is the primary piece. Going back to Akshay's example of how his father uses Gen AI, right? It still needs a lot of monitoring and usage. And it's not straight out of the bat where you could definitely use it straight out of the generation, right? And also, if you consider the misinformation and fake news that also gets fed in, because when Gen AI is trying to create, it is quite capable of creating false information because of the biases, because of the resources, and the adaptation of that resources, right? And another piece that has a risk, if you have to look at it, there are ethical concerns because some of the content that gets generated might be very misleading, at the same time discriminatory. And then the legal compliances, right? If you look at some of the industries where they are very regulated, if you talk about healthcare, if you talk about a couple of industries of fintech, right, where there's a lot of regulation, if you bring in Gen AI into picture without moderation, without enough implementation, you would have concerns of intellectual property and legal related compliances. Those are the kind of risks that a lot of people, whenever we're taking option of Gen AI, should definitely look into. Moving on, if you talk about the limitations, right? Again, it is all about the amount of data that we're feeding in. So the data dependency is large. Okay, how much training data are we as organizations able to provide? And because nobody's using just straight off the bat OpenAI, or when I say OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? My bad, ChatGPT. People are building their own models. People are trying to feed in a lot more information, right? That is a big dependency at this point as we speak. And again, the lack of context understanding, if you look at it, right? The models have to still evolve. A lot of training has to happen for them to realize the context a little more, and prompt engineering that everybody's talking about right now. I think very nascent usage at this moment. Adoption is high, but the kind of usage that is there is not streamlined yet. And then it's resource intensive. If you're building your own model and you're trying to train and you're trying to compute, all of that, the resources that are required, if you look at it from a tech perspective as well, is very, very high. I would say these are the risks and limitations which we need to keep in mind before we jump onto that bandwagon. There are a lot of experimentations that people are doing, POCs that people, product managers are doing using existing models and with limited training requirements. I think that should continue to happen, but if you want to build your own, that's something you really need to look in before you jump in. That is what I would say.
That's a really good insight. When you said about limitations or like experimentation by product managers, I was just reading this case study by Duolingo. So Duolingo was one of the first companies to get access of GPT-4. They got the GPT-4 access back in 2022, I guess. So what they were doing, they got this technology, they put it on the Duolingo chat. People were asking random questions, and they started like, can you write a poem in Spanish? They were learning Spanish, and then the whole purpose of why Duolingo existed was drifting away. So the product managers, they decided use this technology to teach them where they can making mistakes. So I think they jumped the gun there, but again they realized this is not what for us, but they changed the use case, and then now they're currently using Gen AI in their product. That is really interesting. Yeah.
For their learning path and the way people learn the language, they're using that effectively now. Duolingo.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so this question is for both of you. You both being product leaders, how do you think this technology will affect metrics like retention, engagement, and churn? Like these are core metrics for any product managers. How do you think this technology will affect those metrics?
Sandilya, you want to start or should I?
You can go ahead, Akshay.
I think fundamentally the baseline of all of this would change, right? Give you an example today, any social media app has a retention of 30%, right? So I think with the advent of Gen AI, you're going to make a person who's scared of commenting or creating content, making it easy for them to create content, which makes the user stick onto the platform a lot more. So fundamentally, baseline of all these metrics from market standards itself would change of every company that's using Gen AI. Now, if you look at some of the reasons why people churn or move away from one product to another product, AI can really come and solve those problems. I'll take a personal example. I was on Amazon, I was traveling sometime back, going to another country, needed to buy something that was compatible with the plug points in Portugal. And I was on a page and I wasn't quite sure if this product is compatible with the plug point there. So instead of doing Google search, coming back, evaluating, if the AI was right there, I could ask AI beyond the description that's available for that product and get the answers. The opportunity for me to buy that product would have become far easier rather than me comparing products, right? So it's going to help a user make better decisions while they are experiencing any kind of challenges on a digital product. You push that further into the supply chain of it. Say, for example, Amazon is aware that I'm going to be traveling and this product needs to reach me before, right? Can the AI then work with various teams to make sure that it's sourced faster, it's packaged faster, it's sent in the fastest fleet possible to make sure that it reaches me on time, but do it intelligently, be more cost effective, considering I'm a priority user for Amazon, right? Like, how can AI then delight me and keep me on that platform? You take it from a customer challenge point of view, where, for example, I'm unable to get Spotify logging in, right? Like, can I then quickly talk to a bot that rather has to go to an agent? That agent looks at 10 different variations. The AI would be able to understand my device, will be able to collect so much data about me, that it would be able to quickly pull up the right information. In the future, I also imagine a world where it will talk to my AI that's residing on my device and then ask it to solve for it, right? Like take the necessary steps to solve for it. So user experience overall on all digital products will improve, which will then improve your retention rate and your engagement rate on it. Churn, which happens often when people are frustrated of a product or a service, AI will be able to make these predictions well in advance, and we'll be able to course correct with the help of all those teams and services that are attached to it. So we could start helping product managers like us give us a better understanding of our users and where potential problems would arise, and help us course correct even before we actually get the user to that situation. So um, across the board, I think AI is going to be very impactful in improving the metrics. There's going to be a stark difference between companies that use it and don't use it, right? You will see a minimum of a 20 to 30% operational efficiency improvement for companies that use it. And can't tell if it's too early, but definitely a significant improvement in churn, retention, and engagement across these products.
That Amazon example is really great. Yeah. Sandilya, what's your take on it?
So this is an interesting space, right? And primarily with Gen AI coming in, I'll agree with one very specific point that Akshay said, which is every company's baseline will change, right? Specifically for the companies which are using Gen AI, I think the baseline metrics are all over the roof, and it'll be way different from people who are not using it. If I have to take an example from, say, edtech, right, education technology, if you have to take in, because a lot of us are into learning and we engage with one of these various edtech players out there. A very interesting scenario that exists in edtech and how Gen AI will, is already improving that. And you touched upon Duolingo also there. Is, the biggest challenge I face, if you talk about retention and engagement, is 4% is the completion rate for all edtech companies currently when it comes to self-paced learning, right? When it is self-paced learning, people enroll for programs, but they never complete them. If that is the kind of metric that exists with Gen AI, and people talk a lot about personalized learning paths, adaptive content generation, and feedback, continuous feedback, and virtual assistant. This has been in discussion, in promise for a long time, but with Gen AI coming in, I think it becomes a reality. And to just give you a quick view, and you picked up a great example of Duolingo, right? The engagement rate, the retention rate of Duolingo is pretty high. And primarily because of the Gen AI related predictions of how users are navigating and consuming their content, right? And like I earlier mentioned, that given Gen AI is at a situation where it needs to be moderated. I think in edtech space, content generation also is a place where it will definitely, add on. And with Gen AI, what they would be able to do is generate better content related to the customer's needs and make it very, very adaptive. All right. And adding on to it, visualize this example, right, where you have a assistant or a trainer who is consistently with you during your program and nudging you towards continuously learning, right? That is a possibility with Gen AI, and I think that will add a lot of traction to a lot of these edtechs who are getting onto that bandwagon. And some of the large use cases that they are trying to solve is the trainer side of things. right? They're using Gen AI to create virtual assistants, so the interaction is continuous, right? So I think overall, the baseline for such kind of a situation where edtechs are involved, I think it'll go way beyond improving both retention, engagement, as well as the reduction in churn.
Well, I can surely say that EdTech will surely do or like excel in Gen AI, like using it. What other industries do you guys think will take over or can gain as much as from it?
So I think so. Please, Akshay, carry on.
Okay, I think gaming, it's already started. It's super exciting, something that I've tried myself. I think just workflow creation and the extent of personalization it can go down to. Every touch point on an e-commerce website, it's learning something about me from where I'm located, what kind of products I'm interested in. Am I picking up stuff for travel? Am I picking up stuff for home? And imagine the communication it can have across the push notifications, your emailers, the banners that are there. You can really customize it purely for my need and my understanding me compared to another user. So retail, automotive, customer support, games, I think these are going to be early adopters. I do think companies like public sectors or law, I think even to an extent, education is going to take time is just because of the bureaucracy that exists in the industry. But I think Sandilya, you'll have a better sense of that. But I think, yeah, that's my take. These are the forerunners of the AI main companies.
I think
I agree.
gaming excels everywhere.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to technology, gaming is like
Yeah.
they're everywhere. Yeah, they're the forerunners there. Yeah, agreed on that. Yes, Anila, please go ahead. Sorry for stopping you there.
No, I was just adding on to that saying gaming definitely is, and I think customer support is leveraging it big time across, and that will be one of the use cases across industries, right? Because every industry has this whole pain point, you can say, of customer service, and that's one place where there have been a lot of people have been already leveraging, or a lot of organizations are leveraging Gen AI to support that and reduce their touch. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. I think we have 5 more minutes left, exactly to be 6 more minutes. So what we did for the rest of the audience, we sent out an email to thanking you for all for registering, and then we asked like if you have any questions for our guest speakers. And then we received few questions. I think one of them has been answered. So Akshay, do you want to take this? To what extent does the user have to be specific while interacting with AI bots, Gen AI bots, especially when it comes to layman users?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of query, right? For example, what is the weather today, or is it going to rain today? Seems like a very easy query and something an LLM model can easily give you as an output that you can consume and you'll be happy with it. But let's say you wanted to write a Chrome plugin extension that scrapes email IDs on every website that you visit. Right now, you would want the bot to have complete understanding of how to identify one, plus where do you want to store it, what do you want to do with it potentially after it. You would want it to capture a lot more data points. I think at such use cases you need to go down and be specific. um, I think a nice way to look at it is from a product perspective. I'm guessing few of you are product managers here. When we have to go define our ask to the design team or the engineering team, you're able to provide context, you're able to provide why it's important, what are the goals of what you're trying to do, etc. If you're able to provide that much context to the AI, it's going to produce the more relevant information that you require, right? So I would recommend pick the right depth of prompt. You have 20,000 lines of prompt that you can run. So OpenAI is inviting you to write more and give more context so you get better output. Similar with every other Gen AI model, it's an open text box, so like they're not trying to limit you. So go ahead and give it as much information based on how specific you want the outcome to be. At the same time, you can ask very general questions based on the kind of outcome you want.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So Sandilya, do you want to take this question where it goes? We have received, as I have often seen that I have asked something in ChatGPT or asked to restructure a sentence or a paragraph in GPT, and the output often gets changed, the intention and the meaning of the actual input. How is this situation addressed in the best possible way?
This is more like a continuation to what Akshay had already touched upon, right? It is building over the context, and if you take ChatGPT, and I think all of us have used it, played around with it for quite some time, and specifically in the product management space to kind of address some of the repetitive tasks or things, right? If you ask me, I think as a continuation to what Akshay mentioned, it's more to do with the prompt engineering side of it. Prompt engineering, I don't think so. People have to get worried when they hear this. It's all about how are you really defining and giving that context to the chat gpt, if you ask me, and if you're able to give enough limitations along with the role and personification of which person that you want the chat gpt to think through, I think you will get it in a much more context. And like I earlier mentioned, it is more to do with the amount of data that we are feeding in for us to get an appropriate output. And it's evolving, and I think it's only getting better with the 3.5 and then 4. Eventually, I think with a lot of input that chat gpt specifically is getting in, we will start seeing better results. But I think the usage patterns of how we use it today is not in the right method, if I have to say, right? There's a specific anatomy of a prompt that we give in the role, the context, the reason, and then the limitation of what we should stop. So those aspects have to be thought through and then leveraged to get the best output.
Got it. That totally defines that. So if I have to ask you both, what is the best LLM model according to you guys right now in the market for businesses to go and test it out? Like OpenAI has hallucinations or something, but what according to you is like at exact point or at a better place than OpenAI, or who can compete OpenAI?
That's a very interesting question, if I have to put it across, right? Today, we are at a very experimentative stage, and I don't think so we can specifically call out one model and say this would be a better option over the current one. Actually, do you have any specific call outs?
It's very use case wise.
Yeah.
It has better images than DALI from in my perception. But it's not going to say that DALI is not going to overtake it. I've played around with Bard and Claude as well. Both of them are getting better. Like I've seen the improvement happen over a period of time. It's too early, like you said, Sandilya, to pinpoint and say that this is going to win or it's going to beat OpenAI. I think OpenAI today is doing a fantastic job. I use it personally with Notion and Coda, and the fact that it can fill up my tables where I just give it context and it does my tables is just very delightful. So use case to use case, I've seen all of them excel in their own strengths and weaknesses.
It is experimentation and wait and watch. These are the two keywords.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. New use cases will come up, new companies will come up. Yeah. I really like how Meta has integrated LLM into those sunglasses, like Metaverse, and like even like their own LLM. It's really interesting to see those things. Cool. I think we are exactly at time. Thank you to all our attendees joining us from different parts of the world, and a big thank you to both of you, Akshay and Sandilya. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop your LinkedIn addresses for our audiences to get connected if they want to learn or mentored from you guys. But yeah, all in all, thank you so much for doing this with us. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone who is joining us from around the world. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
And we'll see
Thank
you
you,
on
everyone.
Kommunicate. Bye.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.